Hello, the window is open. All right. I actually did a little meditation after the past life, and Abba brought into me the sense of understanding that you cannot be sovereign or stand in your power by tolerating nonsense from the external world. What does this mean? He guides me to Psalm 5. And we're going to read it because it's a short one, but I want you to ask Abba right now. Abba, please open the eyes of my spirit and the ears of my soul to understand the world through the Holy Spirit. That's it. Let's listen to this together. Psalm 5, KJV. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my God. For unto thee will I pray. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee, and will look up. For thou art not a God that hath pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee. The foolish shall not stand in thy sight, thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. The Lord will abhor the blood the bloody and deceitful man. But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine's enemies. Make thy way straight before my face, for this is not faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. Destroy thou them, O God. Let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Let them ever sought for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. For thou, Lord, with wilt bless the righteous, with favor with thou compass him as with a shield. Obviously, David is asking for protection of their enemies or from their enemies. Yet there is something very important to understand about this and about the phrase, you cannot stand in your power by tolerating nonsense. As humans, we have duality of mind, confusion, and at times we lack to make decisions based on what we understand is good. It's righteous, because doing what it's easier is to be nonchalant about focusing and understanding who we are. And we have all been there. We're not pointing fingers. What's in the past is part of the past. What comes along after you transform is your new life, is your rebirth. So we cannot sit down in regret of what we've done, but we can acknowledge what was done, why it was done, and have that same compassion, not only for us, but for those around us. Now, if people constantly come and try to move us from our center, then it's only our responsibility to remain whole, to remain standing in power. What this means is not that you're gonna become someone that looks down on others. You're gonna understand that through compassion, you are not gonna feel attacked for anything they say, because they're just saying it from their wounds and they're speaking about their own lacks. I was there. You probably were there once in your life. No one is perfect. Yet within that imperfection, there is opportunity. Every day, there's a new opportunity for you to actually understand you. When you understand yourself, then you stop the necessity of taking that ego step of engaging. And this is very important, because if you want to be sovereign and righteous and stray away from wickedness, nobody's going to show you the way until you open your eyes and your heart to the word. And without indoctrination, without judgment of another, with love, you can allow them to live the life that they choose to live. Now, when it comes to choosing happiness and joy over standards, over cultural barriers, over what people think is good or evil, or good or bad, then that is where you learn to be sovereign also in your decision making, as no one can experience love through the eyes of another. What do I mean with this? If anyone in your surrounding tells you you shouldn't do this because this isn't that, and they're talking about something that is not beneficial for you, if you're not in a space where you're receiving that counsel as wisdom, you're going to still do it because you think that you know better. And we all have played that role in our lives. We all have played the role of curiosity, the role of overwhelmed, the role of unbalanced. Yet there is a space and a time for everything. At the beginning, I didn't understand why Stoics actually spoke about this righteous, it's not righteousness, but rigid standard points. And when you mix that with work, with accomplishing goals in many of the things that are determined to bring you a specific goal and mindset, that is amazing. But when it comes to relationships, intercommunication or communication with another, that stoicism doesn't show love. It shows rigidness. And for people to understand where I come from, as women, all the changes in the world placed us in being in a man's energy to not only provide for ourselves, but also for our families. And it has taught men to take advantage of the vulnerability and openness of a true loving heart, which is a motherly heart that women in their feminine energy has. So if a man doesn't balance their rigidness of goal getting or goal getters, right, and their soft part of their true nature of their heart, they cannot become the rock where the commitment of matrimony or institution of matrimony can evolve, grow, and be strong. Why I say this? When women feel okay to be vulnerable, to open up is because the man is holding a space for them. Yet when men become okay to open that feminine side of them, right? They don't feel forced to be the full masculine mode. They're in the middle because that link, which is the eternal link, has merged his energies into forming one whole body. Same with women. We are the creators. We have a womb where we bring different or new life into existence. We also are the pillar of the home, the ones that teach respect, the ones that actually show love to our kids, the ones that actually are nourishing to our partners and our kids. Yet man, in his role of security, they are providers. But if they don't have that loving side of them, then it's always going to be missing. Something is going to be missing, and there's going to be misinterpretations, there's going to be arguments, and there's going to be a new generation of kids that are going to grow on unhealthy environments. I believe that the movement that Abba brought into my heart was the movement of unconditional love, based on the fact that since our roles have been polluted by the conditionings of the status and the world, we, not anybody outside of us, need to understand how to balance our energies to be both security and love together in one. That way, when you actually interact with another, you're not interacting from fear. A lot of people close their hearts after a very bad relationship. I did think that I had an open heart until I faced a reality of being exposed to a kind energy that I didn't recognize. And the reason why I didn't recognize that energy was simple. I was focusing on the external noise and not on the internal process that Abba was leading me into for me to understand his words outside of indoctrination and within unconditional love. Therefore, when I acknowledge where I left myself as part of the backseat driver instead of my heart to be the one that guides, I understood that the mind was involved in the distortion based on my old wounding. So I took it upon myself to go into hermit mode just because it's the only way I can process based on PTSD. I didn't know it existed, but now I know it exists. I know how to work with it in order to allow myself to have the time to process. So in life, it's just like that. We tolerate people because we think that we need to tolerate them to avoid confrontation. And when I talk about confrontation, I'm not talking about fights. I'm talking about confronting the truth. Because a lot of people out there, they're living on their wounds, will not accept a direct, I would say, a direct emphasis in their lacks. So, how do you communicate with love? It's very simple. Without judgment, with invitations that will help and allow people to grow. I like people that are straightforward because I'm straightforward. And the reason why I don't tolerate nonsense or lukewarm, not lukewarm, but cold and hot kind of mentalities is because one simple fact. When a person is hot and cold, they don't have decision making of their own. They're wavering like going with the waves of their surroundings, and they're not standing in their authority, in their sovereignty, or in their own decisions. They're actually waiting for another to tell them what's the best road. And I place myself in that mentality while a few years back, when instead of following my heart, I was more pending to what the noise was instigating in the moment, because I didn't have that sovereignty that Abba gave me through understanding his words from a place of compassion. I was like, I am no, I was pretty harsh when I spoke. I'm still learning how to download a little bit my passion, because when I become passionate, I sound pretty tough. But I love the fact that I can tell a person, I see this. And that person doesn't take it as, you're telling me I'm this. No, I see this as an opportunity for you to grow. And the person understanding, if they want to do it, they can do it. If they don't want to do it, they can walk. And that's the beauty of not accepting nonsense in your life. I used to accept a lot of nonsense of another, thinking that I was supposed to be there to guide them into understanding and finding themselves, until I saw where I had to find myself to avoid allowing myself to be in nonsensical areas or places where true authenticity wasn't present. And that allowed me to understand that the mission and the vision of Abba is bigger than myself, because I wouldn't come up with these ideas. I wouldn't come up with this discernment. I wouldn't come up with this specific kind of unconditional love if Abba wouldn't show me what about me I had to change. Everything in life happens for a reason. Everything in life happens for a reason. And the reason is simple. You cannot see anyone else until you see yourself. You cannot understand if you're projecting until you see yourself at the mirror. You cannot understand when you're being harsh until you speak to yourself the same words. You cannot understand how to live from your heart if your mind is controlling the scenario. My spiritual abilities allow me to see behind the veil of the lies and the illusions of the world. But I understood now that there is no need to stay in places where people still want to live under that illusion. So I don't blame anyone that walked away from my life in the moment that I was the one projecting. The same way that I don't feel any resentment for those that came against me, defending their perception of what was right and what was wrong. Because Abba has a way to show you that the boastful cannot stand in my presence. Because people that boast do not understand sovereignty. And I went through a spiritual boasting where I didn't understand indoctrination, and Abba made it very clear that is spiritual ego. And when I stepped down of that pedestal, I said, wow, this is true teachings. This is the true word of Jesus becoming alive, becoming water, becoming that took my insights and turned them upside down, and allows me now to see the world through Abba's eyes. And even though I had the knowledge in the past, it's not the same having the knowledge than practicing the wisdom with your actions and your daily constant development, evolvement. Like, if you feel stagnant, it's because you still have not understood. It all takes one choice, and it's free will choice of making the right free will choices along the path. You choose if you tolerate people and allow them to disrespect you, or you choose to walk away without needing to explain yourself. And the reason why I'm here speaking about this is because a lot of people still are in the place that I was before, fighting like a turtle upside down, trying to clear the air of the lies, when all that did was show how unbalanced my wisdom was from the knowledge I had. And when Abba takes you and turns you upside down and clears the mind, all that's left is pure love. I'm not saying that I am perfect in any way, shape, or form. I do have a condition that will probably trigger something in the future. But knowing that I am in control when I see myself through the eyes of love and not pity for myself or anyone else allows me to step away from tolerating nonsense. And that is beautiful for everything: business, love, any type of relationships with family and friends, as well as renewing your path and your life and making good choices that will lead you to that promised land that comes with accountability, awareness, and true unconditional love in your heart for everyone. I know my voice sounds different today because I'm in the more mellow kind of way. And sometimes I will be passionate about things because that's my personality. But my character, what is my character? Ask yourself, what am I presenting to others? Am I presenting a false persona of who I want to be? Or am I actually making and taking the steps to be that person? Is this who I wish to be, or this is what my true heart says I am? And the moment you find that, you live with purpose, because everything you do will have a purpose to be of service of another human in this experience. Those that are disconnected from their intuition, those that are disconnected from Abba, those that are polluted in their bodies like I was, with so many traumas I experienced because of ignorance, that can be just washed away. I always say tears are prayers to Abba, because when you cry, you're telling him, I do not understand. Therefore, never feel ashamed of your tears. Never. Because every single one of them counts for him. He sees what was done in the dark. And even when I do not feel proud of reacting, he sees how it all started. He sees how it all went down. And in my books, that counts more than people accepting me for my truth, because I accept myself. And that allows me to stand sovereign and not needing anybody's understanding. There are beautiful things and blessings in disguise that Abba brings to everyone's experience. And one of them is the moment you stop being the pebble in the walk, in your shoe, the moment you stop sabotaging yourself with fear, you will, even when in fear, be true and honest to yourself and speak up the truth. A lot of people say silence is wisdom, and I do believe that. Silence is wisdom, and so many times I spoke more than I should. Do you think I care that my character of that moment came out in the open? No. I don't care because it's the only way Abba had to show that if you work on you, that if you understand his words from your heart and not your mind, not indoctrination, then you can change your perception, not only from love, but also of how loved you are and how much you deserve to be loved. If you're never feeling worthy of feeling loved by another person because you think they're more intelligent, or because you think that they are more wealthy than you, or because you think that you're comparing yourself. And that's where greed, envy, and everything else starts. And it's ugly. It's ugly because if you want what somebody else has, work for it. If you want the peace of calmness and wisdom that someone else has, ask and you shall receive. Abba will put it right in your face. I always ask Abba, I know I'm not perfect, but I want to understand the true meaning of unconditional love so I can open the gates of the hearts of others by speaking to their souls and not their minds. And here I am. The other day, somebody asked me for counsel, and I said, hey, I don't think you're open in the heart to hear what I have to say, because I'm not going to sugarcoat the truth. Person looked at me, already in defensive mode. Why do you think that? And I'm like, your reaction just told me everything. You are in defensive mode. I was there, and I can understand it because I feel the vibration. But I also understood when people were saying things to make me change my mental progression into going back. I'm going to search something that Abba is bringing to my heart right now. Have you ever heard about the concept of swapping destinies? The reason why I'm bringing this is because of the following. People that want what you have they want your blessings because they don't see Abba how you see Abba. They want the glory of your wisdom without doing the work. So often, They will, with malicious attacks or spiritual attacks, try to get you into space of mindset where you doubt yourself. I didn't understand why in the past I had that prophecy about the swapping destinies. And what's sad about this is that the person that wants to swap destinies with you and does the wicked things, their life will show you what they did behind closed doors. Because when I was trying to do the movement and I started being spiritually attacked, it burst out the PTSD so I could become aware of it and work with it. And yet it took me several years to get to where I am today. But that was why Abba placed me in that space. So I understood how not to teach with indoctrination, but teach from a loving heart. Yet the person that came to attack me in private, knowingly or unknowingly, wanting to swap destinies based on the knowledge I was speaking, was not only trying to hijack my words, but live by them without doing the work. And when you try to hijack another person's blessings from above, Abba doesn't take it lightly. Mostly when he said, enough is enough. When I saw myself stagnant, I said, did I try to swap destinies with somebody else? And then I came to the original thought of, I did this based on love. I didn't do this based on wanting what another had. I did this in a space of sharing and not taking. But when I saw how the works in the background were created, and I saw myself judging or blaming another without knowing the true facts of it, the destiny swap happened. Because what was meant to be in my experience was grabbed energetically by another. But what goes around comes around, not because I am looking for revenge. No, it's because now I understand why Abba allows others to believe they're here or above or in a hierarchy. Because in the moment Abba truly flips you upside down and places you in his path, gives you the sovereignty with wisdom to abide to right choices, that stagnation goes away. The truth of the creative source will be automatically shown, not by me, by his hand. And that's why I think that he allowed me to go through this experience. Not because I want to justify any actions or reactions I had, just because I see the beauty behind how he weaved every single interaction to make those that thought had the power to now acknowledge how they exposed themselves on their own without me having to do anything or him having to do anything. A lot of these people do not understand that when they do this to another, they can cause them premature endings and constant misfortune. But Abba gives, but he also takes away. And the way that people are going to acknowledge who did who is when Abba start taking away from them what he gifted them for them to pass the test. All I wish is they can find healing in the words that Abba is sharing with you. All that I hope is that faith is bigger than their circumstances, because imposing this type of circumstances on another human being just for fun, that speaks more about their heart than my true intentions. When you heal the past, you understand why you didn't give yourself a chance. And one of the reasons why I think I did not give myself a chance was because I was called a gold digger. And that hit me hard because I said in my heart, Abba, you know I'm not like that. But I realized that those words had a meaning and a significance. It was a swapping of destinies. It was allowing me to feel how they feel. So I will doubt myself and my true intentions, and I will not see who truly was interested in me at a time, or not feel good enough, because if I decided to choose that person, I would look as a gold digger, just because people have different statuses. When I saw the competition and the envy between their lifestyle, I just said to myself, I have faith that God will allow them to one day see the beauty of truly embracing who they are, of knowing that you cannot fake your energy. And that you should never try to control the experiences. And I was there too. And it's so beautiful to see it and allow it to just go with love, with understanding, with compassion, not only for what I did, but also for what they did. Because everyone that is hurt acts like a little kid. But everyone that is reborn and knows what they want, they speak from a space of truth, and they don't hold back. What I mean with not holding back. What I mean with not holding back means accepting what you did, yet not feeling guilty for it because it was part of ignorance, not because it's a justification, yet making the right choices to never go back to that place and work into building with essence, building with purpose, building from love outside of the need of tolerating nonsense. And it's fun because when you put yourself in that space, you say, oh my God, a lot of people tolerated a lot of nonsense out of me. And then you see, I did tolerate a lot of nonsense out of them too. So it comes into that realization where you say, you cannot blame anyone for walking away from your life. The same way you cannot blame yourself for having to come into yourself in that privacy where you and Abba can have a one-on-one and sort it all out and see it from an eagle's eyes, from the top. The storm is there to bring you out of the pit. The storm is there to transform you, but it cannot happen until you decide to take that leap of faith. True words, through love, through understanding, doesn't come by blaming anyone. Doesn't come from pointing fingers. Comes from true accountability. And that is the real fire that one above is asking everyone to acknowledge if they want to not profess or prophetize or speak from lies, but living in the truth of his love. It is beautiful. Leave that one here. I delayed my shower because Abba brought this into my heart. And when he speaks, we listen. So I want you guys to go to Proverbs 17 if you have a chance and listen to why David fell in Psalm 5 mentality towards understanding what Proverbs actually is showing to you. And nonetheless, he brought me to verse 13. Let me find it very quick. Not sure why. So Proverbs. What was it? Proverbs. Where was it? Oh, snatch. 17. Proverbs 17:13. KJV. Let's read that out loud. Actually, I'm going to bring the whole Proverbs 17 because of when he speaks, we listen, and for some reason, he's opened it up. It says, better is a dry morsel and quietness therewith than a house full of sacrifice with strife. A wise servant shall have rule over a son that causeth shame, and shall have part of the inheritance among the brethren. The fining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but the Lord dareth the hearts. A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ears to a naughty tongue. Whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker, and he that is glad at calamities shall not be unpunished. Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children's are their fathers. Excellent speech becometh not a fool, much less do lying lips a prince. A gift is a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. Whatsoever it turneth is prospereth. He that covereth a transgression speaketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. A reproof endereth more into a wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. An evil man seeketh one rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Haven't we all been there? Let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man, rather than a fool in his folly. Woe so rewardeth. I'm the best, right? Woe so rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. The beginning of strife is as when one leaketh out water. The water again. Therefore leave off contention before it be meddled with. He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemned the just, even they both are abomination of the Lord. Whereof is there a prize in the hand of a fool to get wisdom, seeing he hath not heard to it? A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born from adversity. A man void and understanding striketh hands, and becometh surety in the presence of his friends. He loveth transgression that loveth strife, and he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. He that hath a forward heart findeth no good, and he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. He that beggeth a fool doeth it to his sorrow, and the father of a fool hath no joy. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit teareth the bones. A wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom of to prevent the ways of judgment. Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bare him. Also to punish the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. He that hath knowledge separateth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that sootheth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. When I understood that the reason why I always had to reply and engage was because of my upbringing, I learned that I'm not here to defend myself because that becomes defensive. I'm here to understand the circumstances and explain them from a part and a place of love. And even though I do not condone my own behaviors, I don't feel ashamed of them anymore because Abba has shown me a better way to move forward with righteousness and mostly with true unconditional love, not only for myself, but others. So I hope you guys get the essence of the message, process it, and transform every wicked part of you that unconsciously is coming out in life so you can live a prosperous, blessed, and true faithful life, understanding that there is for you will never pass you by. It's just transforming. So when it's in front of you, you don't feel bad to take the opportunity to embrace it as a gift of the one above. Keep that in mind and be you. Be you in the best ways possible. Only you can stop yourself from sabotaging your own experiences in life.